Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up.
The lives of Port Charles residents have always been filled with surprises, heartbreak, and shocking returns, but nothing could prepare Monica Quartermaine and Drew Cain for the stunning revelation that has just surfaced. A mysterious young man has recently arrived in town, and after a DNA test and a series of confessions, it has been revealed that he is Monica's long-lost son. The shockwaves this revelation sends throughout the Quartermaine family and the wider Port Charles community are immense, but what complicates things even further is that Monica, still deeply grieving the many losses her family has endured, finds herself unable to take on the responsibility of raising her newly discovered child. In a twist that no one saw coming, the responsibility instead falls into the hands of Drew, who has always been a steadfast presence in Monica's life, not just as a son by heart but as a man who carries the weight of loyalty and family values. Suddenly, Drew must step into a role he never expected, raising Monica's son and helping him find his place in Port Charles. For Monica, the news is bittersweet. She has lost so many children over the years, from Alan Jr. to Jason, and even though she has been blessed with relationships with Ned, Tracy, and others in the Quartermaine clan, her heart has always been haunted by the ghosts of the children she could not keep close. To discover now that another son has been out there all this time, only to appear at her doorstep after decades of secrecy, is almost too much for her to process. Yet, Monica is also dealing with her own declining health and the emotional exhaustion of being the family matriarch. She knows in her heart that she cannot give this son the stability and constant presence he deserves. That is why she turns to Drew, a man who has stood by her side through every storm. For Monica, entrusting Drew with this responsibility is both a sacrifice and a gift, as she knows he will provide the guidance and compassion that her lost son will need as he adjusts to his new reality. For Drew, the task is overwhelming. He has faced his own struggles with identity, having lived much of his life as Jason Morgan only to later discover his true self. The parallels between his own story and that of Monica's newly discovered son are not lost on him. Drew understands what it feels like to be adrift, searching for a family and a sense of belonging in a world that seems determined to keep secrets. That empathy pushes him to accept Monica's request, even though he knows the challenges will be great. He must now step into a fatherly role, offering stability to a young man who has been thrust into the whirlwind that is the Quartermaine family legacy. Drew is also aware that this situation will inevitably bring complications with Sam, Scout, and even Carly, as his attention and priorities may need to shift in ways that no one expects. The young man himself is a mystery that Port Charles residents are eager to unravel. His arrival raises countless questions: who raised him all these years? Did Alan know about his existence? Why was he kept from Monica, and who orchestrated this decades-long deception? The Quartermaine family, notorious for their complicated histories and hidden secrets, now must confront the reality that another heir has been living in the shadows. Tracy, of course, has her suspicions and her sharp tongue ready, while Ned worries about what this revelation means for ELQ and the family's business empire. Brooklyn, on the other hand, is intrigued by the idea of having a new cousin but cautious about whether this newcomer can be trusted. The dynamics at the Quartermaine mansion are about to become more volatile than ever as everyone adjusts to the shocking addition to their already chaotic family tree. In the midst of all this, Drew also faces his own inner conflict. Taking on the responsibility of raising Monica's son is not something he entered into lightly, but he can't help but wonder if he is truly up for the task. His own history as a father is complicated, and the guilt he carries over not always being present for Scout weighs heavily on him. Now he has the chance to prove himself, not only to Monica but to himself as well. He wants to show that he can provide love, structure, and wisdom even in the face of chaos. The question remains whether this will strengthen Drew's character and bring him closer to the Quartermaines, or whether the pressure will ultimately fracture the already delicate relationships he has built. For the young man at the center of this storm, life in Port Charles will be an adjustment unlike anything he has ever experienced. Suddenly, he has a family name with legacy, power, and wealth behind it, but he also inherits the Quartermaine drama that comes with it. He must learn to navigate a household filled with eccentric relatives, constant feuds, and an endless tug-of-war between love and business. Drew will need to be his anchor, guiding him through the turbulence while also helping him forge his own identity. Yet, in true soap fashion, the young man may not be as straightforward as he seems. There are whispers that he may be harboring secrets of his own, secrets that could turn Monica's joy into another heartbreak and test Drew's loyalty to its very limits. As word of Monica's lost son spreads through Port Charles, it doesn't take long before the news becomes the talk of the town. Everyone has an opinion, and speculation runs wild about where this young man has been all these years. For Monica, every new question feels like another twist of the knife. She keeps replaying her past over and over, wondering how it was possible that someone she carried and loved could have been hidden from her for so long. The Quartermaine mansion, already a hub of constant activity, becomes a place filled with whispers, arguments, and stunned silence as each member of the family processes the truth in their own way. Monica feels guilty that she isn't able to give her son the stability he needs herself, but she knows that entrusting Drew is the best chance he has. Still, the matriarch can't shake the nagging fear that she's asking Drew to carry a burden that may eventually break him. The young man, whose name has yet to be made public, struggles with his own conflicting emotions. On one hand, he's overjoyed to finally connect with the mother he thought he might never know, but on the other, he feels abandoned. Why did it take so long for her to find him? Wasn't he important enough to be sought after? Monica tries to explain that she had no idea he existed or had been stolen from her, but the scars of his upbringing leave him cautious and defensive. Drew recognizes the walls this young man has built, and it becomes clear to him that earning trust will be a slow, deliberate process. Drew doesn't push too hard, but he makes sure the boy knows he isn't alone. It's in these early days of their relationship that Drew starts to step into a role he didn't expect, becoming not just a guardian, but a mentor and emotional anchor. Meanwhile, Tracy sees the entire situation as yet another Quartermaine scandal waiting to blow up. True to form, she is less concerned about the emotional weight of the situation and more interested in what this revelation could mean for the Quartermaine legacy and ELQ. With a new heir in the picture, the family's wealth, voting shares, and power within the company may shift dramatically. Ned tries to be the voice of reason, urging Tracy not to turn this into a corporate chess match, but she can't help herself. For her, every new arrival is a potential threat to the Quartermaine name she has fought so hard to protect. Brooke Lynn, however, offers a different perspective. She extends an olive branch to her new cousin, hoping to make him feel welcome despite the tension brewing inside the mansion. Brooke Lynn knows what it's like to be judged unfairly within her family, and she refuses to let history repeat itself. Her compassion doesn't go unnoticed, and slowly, the young man begins to see that not every Quartermaine is out to use or manipulate him. Outside the Quartermaine mansion, other residents of Port Charles react with curiosity and caution. Carly, for example, can't help but be intrigued. She understands family secrets better than most, and while she isn't directly connected to the Quartermaines anymore, her history with them runs deep. Carly also sees that Drew is stepping into a new responsibility, and part of her worries how this will affect his ability to balance everything else in his life. She has grown to respect Drew immensely, but she also knows that the pressure of being pulled in so many directions has broken stronger men before him. Sam, too, takes notice, especially since this new dynamic could affect Scout. Sam wonders whether Drew will be stretched too thin and what impact this will have on their daughter's life. Even though she trusts Drew's heart, she has seen firsthand how the Quartermaine chaos consumes anyone who dares to get too close. Drew, of course, is fully aware of the stakes. Late at night, when the mansion is quiet, he wrestles with his own doubts. He questions whether he is capable of filling the role that Monica has asked of him. While he is proud to step up, he knows it will come at a cost. His career, his personal relationships, and even his own peace of mind will be tested. Yet, he can't ignore the deeper sense of purpose that has awakened inside him. This is his chance to give someone else what he himself once longed for, a guiding hand, a safe place, and a family that doesn't turn its back when times get hard. Drew resolves to take the journey one step at a time, even if it means facing battles he never anticipated. The young man's integration into Port Charles life is far from smooth. He has flashes of anger that no one quite understands, and his mistrust sometimes borders on hostility. At times, he lashes out at Monica, convinced that she's holding back more secrets. He questions Drew's sincerity, accusing him of trying to play hero when he has no idea what it's like to grow up unwanted. These confrontations are painful for everyone, but Drew doesn't shy away. Instead, he listens, absorbs the anger, and responds with patience. He refuses to give up on the boy, no matter how many walls are put up in front of him. For Drew, it isn't about being perfect, it's about showing consistency, something the boy has never experienced before. That steadfast approach begins to plant seeds of trust, though it will take time before they bloom fully. As if the situation weren't complicated enough, whispers begin circulating that the young man may not have come to Port Charles of his own free will. There are suggestions that someone pushed him to reveal his identity now, at this particular moment. Could this be part of a larger scheme to destabilize the Quartermaines or to claim a piece of their fortune? Drew begins to suspect that there are hidden motives behind the timing of the boy's arrival. His instincts, honed by years of surviving danger, tell him that this is not just a coincidence. Drew quietly starts investigating, determined to protect Monica and her son from anyone who might exploit them. The more he digs, the more he realizes that this young man may be carrying secrets even he doesn't fully understand. As days pass in Port Charles, Drew grows more and more uneasy about the circumstances surrounding Monica's son's arrival. Something about the timing doesn't sit right with him. Why now? Why after decades of secrecy would this young man suddenly surface? The Quartermaines have never been strangers to family members coming out of the woodwork, but Drew senses this situation carries a darker undertone. He starts watching closely, not just for the boy's sake but for Monica's as well. She's put her trust in him, and Drew refuses to let anyone manipulate or harm her again. After everything Monica has endured, the losses of Alan, Jason, AJ, Emily, Drew knows that this could be her final chance to reconnect with a child she never knew she had. Protecting that bond becomes his mission, even if it means stepping into dangerous territory. Monica, meanwhile, is both overjoyed and conflicted. She's grateful to know her son is alive and in Port Charles, but her maternal instincts tell her something is off. She tries to bridge the gap between them, sharing stories of Alan and Jason, recounting happy moments from the Quartermaine mansion in an attempt to make him feel like he belongs. Sometimes it works, her son listens with a mixture of curiosity and longing. Other times, he shuts down, retreating into silence or lashing out with accusations of abandonment. Monica aches with guilt, even though none of this was her fault. She knows her health and age limit what she can give him, but it still hurts to watch Drew step into the role she wishes she could fill herself. Monica doesn't resent Drew, in fact, she's proud of him, but the situation leaves her grappling with her own limitations as a mother. The young man himself continues to be an enigma. He insists he came to Port Charles to find his family and start fresh, but subtle slips in his stories raise red flags for Drew. Sometimes he recalls events that don't add up. Other times, his knowledge of the Quartermaine family seems strangely detailed, almost as if someone has been feeding him information. Drew begins to wonder whether he's being coached or manipulated from behind the scenes. Still, Drew sees genuine pain in the boy's eyes, a pain he recognizes from his own past. That recognition keeps him from making harsh judgments, even as his instincts scream that there's more to uncover. Outside of the Quartermaine mansion, curiosity about Monica's son spreads like wildfire. At the Metro Court, whispers swirl among patrons. Elizabeth Weber finds herself empathizing with Monica, knowing how difficult it is to navigate parenthood when secrets and lies complicate everything. Finn cautions her not to get too drawn in, but Elizabeth can't help but worry about Drew. She knows how much responsibility he's taking on and fears he'll lose himself in the process. Carly, ever the pragmatist, confronts Drew directly. She warns him that taking on too much could backfire, not just for him but for Scout. Drew listens but remains firm in his decision. He tells Carly that this isn't just about family, it's about doing what's right. Carly respects his determination even if she disagrees with his choices. Meanwhile, Sam becomes increasingly uneasy. She's concerned not only for Scout but also for Drew's well-being. She knows better than anyone how consuming Quartermaine drama can be, and she worries that Drew's good intentions might trap him in a situation he can't control. Still, part of her admires his commitment. She quietly wonders if this new responsibility might actually help Drew heal some of his own wounds. Raising Monica's son could give Drew the sense of purpose he's been missing, but Sam can't shake the fear that something darker is at play. That darker element begins to reveal itself when Drew notices the young man receiving strange phone calls. Whenever Drew walks into the room, the boy quickly ends the call or pretends it never happened. At first, Drew chalks it up to teenage privacy or normal nerves, but then he overhears a fragment of conversation that chills him. They don't suspect yet. Drew doesn't confront him immediately. Instead, he decides to investigate quietly. He knows pushing too hard could cause the boy to shut down completely, and Drew is determined to win his trust before exposing whatever secrets he's hiding. Still, the suspicion gnaws at him, especially as he considers what kind of people might be pulling the strings. As tension builds, the Quartermaine family grows restless. Tracy, with her usual bluntness, openly questions whether the boy is truly Monica's son. She demands more proof, convinced that someone is trying to con the family. Ned attempts to keep the peace, reminding Tracy that the DNA test confirmed the boy's identity, but Tracy refuses to back down. Her skepticism causes friction with Monica, who insists her maternal instincts can't be wrong. Brooke Lynn takes Monica's side, arguing that everyone deserves a chance, especially family. Yet even she begins to notice inconsistencies in her cousin's behavior. The Quartermaine house, already prone to squabbles, becomes a powder keg ready to explode. In the middle of all this chaos, Drew and Monica share a quiet moment. She thanks him for stepping up, admitting that she doesn't know how she would manage without him. Drew reassures her that she's not alone, that this time, the Quartermaines won't lose another son. But in the back of his mind, Drew can't shake the feeling that danger is lurking closer than anyone realizes. He begins to wonder whether the young man's arrival isn't just about family at all, but about power, revenge, or something far worse. Port Charles thrives on secrets, and it's only a matter of time before this one explodes. For now, Drew focuses on building trust, offering guidance, and protecting Monica's fragile heart. But his instincts tell him that when the truth finally comes out, the entire Quartermaine family, and perhaps all of Port Charles, will be shaken to its core. Drew knew from the moment Monica's son arrived that something about the situation didn't add up. Now, with each passing day, his instincts screamed louder that someone was using the boy as a pawn. He tried not to let his suspicions show too much around Monica, but the protective part of him could not ignore the warning signs. Each time the young man slipped away for mysterious calls, or each time he dodged direct questions about his past, Drew took mental notes. He had spent too many years living under false identities, surviving manipulations, and being caught in webs of secrets not to recognize the signs of another cover-up. The difference this time was that Monica's heart was on the line, and Drew would be damned before he let anyone break her again. The young man himself seemed caught between two worlds. There were moments when his guard dropped, and Drew could see the lost, frightened child inside him. He would listen attentively to Monica's stories about Alan, Jason, and Emily, his eyes filling with a mix of wonder and sadness. He seemed desperate to connect with the family he'd been denied for so long, yet the very next moment, he would retreat into hostility or suspicion, lashing out as though protecting himself from disappointment. Drew began to realize that the boy wasn't entirely lying about his longing for family, but something else, someone else, was influencing his behavior. The duality made Drew's heart ache. He wanted to believe the boy was innocent, but the shadows surrounding his arrival were too dark to ignore. Monica, meanwhile, clung to hope. Her health wasn't what it once was, and she confessed to Drew in a rare moment of vulnerability that she didn't know how much longer she had to make up for lost time. "I don't want to waste a single day," she whispered, her voice breaking. Drew assured her that she wouldn't, that he would make sure her son felt the love she had carried for him all along. Monica trusted Drew completely, but even she couldn't deny that the boy's behavior was erratic. At times, he seemed genuinely moved by her affection. At others, he looked as though he were carrying the weight of a secret he couldn't share. Monica worried that her son's heart was scarred beyond repair, but she refused to give up on him. After all, she had lost too many children before, she would not lose this one if there was even a sliver of a chance. Back at the mansion, the Quartermaines remained divided. Tracy grew bolder in her accusations, openly warning the family that they were being conned. She pointed to the inconsistencies in the boy's stories, the sudden appearance, and the suspicious timing as evidence. Ned tried to rein her in, but secretly, even he admitted to Olivia that he felt uneasy. Brooke Lynn stayed loyal to Monica and tried to act as a buffer between her cousin and Tracy's sharp tongue. She encouraged the boy to pursue his musical interests and introduced him to Chase, hoping that positive friendships would help him feel more rooted in Port Charles. Still, she couldn't shake the moments when his smile didn't quite reach his eyes, as if he were hiding behind a mask. Meanwhile, Drew began to follow his gut. Using his military instincts, he started shadowing the boy discreetly, observing where he went and whom he spoke with. It didn't take long before he noticed a troubling pattern: late-night walks away from the mansion, meetings with an unknown man near the docks, and exchanges that looked far too tense to be innocent. Drew's suspicions deepened when he caught a glimpse of the man, someone with ties to shady dealings in Port Charles's underworld. The realization hit him hard: Monica's son wasn't just being manipulated, he might be entangled in something dangerous, perhaps even criminal. Despite his alarm, Drew didn't confront the boy right away. He knew a direct accusation would only push him further away. Instead, Drew tried to strengthen their bond. He shared personal stories about his own struggles with identity, how he had once believed he was Jason Morgan, only to learn later that he was someone else entirely. He told the boy how it felt to have his entire life upended, to question who he was and where he belonged. The boy listened, visibly moved, but his response was evasive. "You wouldn't understand," he muttered, his voice low. Drew didn't press, but the exchange confirmed his fears: the boy was carrying a secret too heavy to share. Carly, ever watchful, noticed Drew's growing tension. She pressed him for details, but he kept his investigation close to the chest, not wanting to fuel more gossip. Still, Carly wasn't blind. She warned him again that whatever he was walking into could blow up not just his life, but Monica's as well. Drew appreciated her concern, but he couldn't step back. Protecting Monica and guiding her son had become his mission, and he wasn't about to let fear deter him. At the same time, Monica's health took a worrying turn. A minor collapse during a heated argument between Tracy and the boy sent her to GH for tests, reminding everyone that her time was precious. Drew sat by her bedside, promising her that he would keep fighting for her son no matter what. Monica squeezed his hand and told him that he was the best of the Quartermaines, a man who lived not for power or wealth, but for love and loyalty. The weight of that compliment settled heavily on Drew's shoulders. He knew he had to live up to it, even if it meant confronting painful truths. The boy, shaken by Monica's collapse, began to show cracks in his tough exterior. He visited her in the hospital, sitting quietly at her bedside. For a fleeting moment, Drew saw genuine fear in his eyes, the fear of losing the mother he'd only just found. That moment gave Drew hope, but it also deepened his resolve to uncover the truth. If someone was using this boy to harm Monica or the Quartermaines, Drew would put an end to it, no matter the cost. As the days stretched on, the storm drew closer. Secrets couldn't stay hidden forever in Port Charles, and Drew knew it was only a matter of time before the truth about Monica's son exploded into the open. Whether it would bring healing or destruction was still unclear, but one thing was certain: Drew was ready to face it head-on. Drew had always trusted his instincts, and every instinct told him that Monica's son wasn't acting alone. The secrecy, the late-night phone calls, the strange meetings near the docks, none of it pointed to a boy simply trying to reconnect with his family. It was something bigger, and Drew's gut told him that Monica's son might be caught in a dangerous game that he didn't fully understand. Still, Drew couldn't bring himself to condemn him outright. He had seen glimpses of real vulnerability, flashes of sincerity that convinced him the boy was more victim than villain. That duality made Drew's mission even more complicated: protect Monica, protect her son, and expose the truth, all without shattering what little trust they had built. The Quartermaine mansion had become a pressure cooker. Tracy, never one to hold her tongue, was convinced that her instincts were right, that someone was orchestrating this entire scenario to destabilize the family and possibly gain leverage over ELQ. "We've been through this before," she snapped one evening at dinner, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. "How many times have imposters or long-lost relatives suddenly appeared, only for it to end in disaster?" Monica, pale but resolute, defended her son with every ounce of strength she had left. "He's mine, Tracy. That's all that matters." But even as she spoke, doubt flickered in her eyes. Brooklyn tried to keep the peace, but her efforts felt futile. The young man's temper often flared at Tracy's accusations, and each argument left Monica more strained. Ned did his best to mediate, reminding everyone that family unity was their strongest defense, but privately, he admitted to Olivia that the situation was tearing at the fabric of the Quartermaines in a way he hadn't seen in years. Olivia, ever intuitive, wondered if perhaps the boy was just as much a pawn as they feared. "What if someone's pulling his strings?" she asked softly, her worry evident. Ned couldn't disagree. Meanwhile, Drew's quiet investigation finally began to yield results. He traced the mysterious man from the docks to a name that sent a chill down his spine: Victor Cassadine. Though Victor was supposed to be gone for good, the Cassadines had a way of leaving remnants of their power behind. Drew couldn't shake the possibility that the boy was connected to one of Victor's schemes. The idea that Monica's son could be tangled up in Cassadine plots filled him with dread. The Cassadines had haunted Port Charles for decades, always manipulating, always twisting family bonds into weapons. Could it be that Monica's son was being used as the ultimate pawn against the Quartermaines? Drew didn't share his suspicions with Monica right away. He couldn't bear to put that weight on her shoulders, not when she was clinging so tightly to this newfound connection. Instead, he chose to watch more closely, waiting for the moment when he could confront the boy with evidence. He needed the truth to come from the boy himself, not from accusations that would only drive them further apart. At the same time, Monica's son was wrestling with his own inner turmoil. The more time he spent in Port Charles, the more attached he became to the very people he was supposed to deceive. Drew's quiet strength and unwavering support gnawed at him, making it harder to keep up the facade. Monica's love, unconditional and fierce, cracked the walls he had spent a lifetime building. For the first time, he felt the weight of guilt pressing down on him. He had come to Port Charles with a mission, one he hadn't fully understood but had been pushed into by forces he was too afraid to resist. Now, he began to wonder if he could keep going down that path, or if it was already too late to turn back. Elizabeth Weber found herself drawn into the situation when she crossed paths with the boy at the hospital. He had come to visit Monica for a checkup, and in a quiet moment, Liz saw the sadness in his eyes. "You look like someone carrying too much," she told him gently. He brushed her off, but the words lingered. Elizabeth later confided to Finn that she sensed the boy was hiding something that went beyond the usual Quartermaine chaos. "He looks like a kid trapped in the middle of something bigger than himself," she said, her voice full of compassion. Finn cautioned her not to get too involved, but Liz couldn't help feeling that Drew was going to need all the allies he could get. Carly, too, began noticing the tension. She confronted Drew again, more directly this time. "You're carrying something," she told him firmly. "Don't pretend you're not. Whatever this kid's hiding, it's going to blow up, and if you don't get ahead of it, Monica's the one who's going to get hurt." Drew, tired and conflicted, admitted that he suspected outside forces were manipulating the boy. Carly, to her credit, didn't judge him. Instead, she offered her support. "Then don't fight this alone," she said. "If the Cassadines are involved, you're going to need backup." The boy's guilt finally began to spill over during a late-night conversation with Drew. They sat in the Quartermaine living room, the house unusually quiet. Drew shared more about his past, about how secrets and lies had cost him years of his life. "The truth has a way of coming out, no matter how hard you fight it," Drew said softly. "And when it does, you're the one who has to live with it." The boy's eyes filled with emotion, and for a moment, Drew thought he might confess everything. But instead, he pulled back, muttering, "You don't understand. I don't have a choice." That admission chilled Drew to the bone. It confirmed what he had feared all along, that someone was pulling the strings, and the boy was trapped in their grip. Drew knew then that he had to act fast. Whatever was happening, it wasn't just about Monica's son anymore, it was about the safety of the entire Quartermaine family.